Hello everyone, I hope all of you are safe and doing well. Today we begin the lecture series on carbohydrates. This is the first lecture. Here we will discuss about the basics of carbohydrates, where we will cover the function and general properties of carbohydrates, their nomenclature and classification, the stereochemistry of carbohydrates, and certain terminologies related to the stereochemistry will also be discussed, and we will also look at different projection formulas of carbohydrates at the end. Now, let's come to the determination of absolute configuration of monosaccharides. We'll be concerning ourselves with glucose and fructose here. So we talked about the relative configuration D and L a lot in the previous slides. So now we'll look at the absolute configuration. What are the absolute configurations? R or S? So if you look at the example of glyceraldehyde, you have to follow the Kahn-Ingold-Prelog rule to assign its absolute configuration or to find or determine its absolute configuration. So what is the way? You have to look at the substituents, you have to assign the priority, and then look at the orientation at which they are placed, and accordingly you have to designate. So what will be the priority order? OH will be 1, CHO will be 2, CH2OH will be 3, and hydrogen will be 4. So the rotation will be 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, that is anti-clockwise, but the lowest priority group hydrogen is placed horizontal in horizontal form. So it will be R configuration and not S configuration, right? Therefore, D-glyceraldehyde or D plus glyceraldehyde has the absolute configuration of R. Now, since it has only one chiral center, so D-glyceraldehyde can be called R-glyceraldehyde. But in case of higher aldoses, you have to look at the different chiral centers and you have to assign them separately. Like in case of D-glucose or D plus glucose, the configuration will be RSRR, or more precisely it will be 2R, 3S, 4R, 5R, because the C1 and C2 are not asymmetric or are not chiral, so we'll be concerning ourselves with the 4 middle carbons. So let's look at the carbon 2. So what is the substituents and their priority order? It is like this: OH is 1, CHO is 2, the remaining part of the carbohydrate will be 3, and hydrogen will be 4. So 1, 2, 3. Which direction? It is anti-clockwise, but the lowest priority group is placed horizontally, so it will be R, just like the glyceraldehyde, right? So if you look at the C3 now, the OH is placed at the left hand side and the other substituents will be this CHOH, CHO, this remaining part, and hydrogen. So the priority order will be like this. So this is now clockwise. That means it should be R, but the hydrogen, that is the lowest priority group is placed horizontally. So it should be S in turn. So C3 is S configuration. Similarly, if you look at C4 and look at the substituents and their priority order, you will find that it will again be R. Similarly, C5 will also be R. Okay. So glucose has the D-glucose has the configuration of C2R, C3S, C4R, C5R. So we are considering each carbon, finding the priority order of the attached groups and atoms, and then we are designating the absolute configuration of that particular chiral center, right? Now, what is the similarity between this glyceraldehyde and the other aldose, here glucose? So when OH was at the right hand side, let's look at the glyceraldehyde. OH was at the right hand side, it was D-glyceraldehyde. But in this placement, you will find that when OH was at the right hand side, the glyceraldehyde is also having R configuration. So in case of glucose also, you will notice when OH group is at the right hand side, it was having the R configuration. In case of C2, it was having R configuration. In case of C4 and C5 also, OH group was at the right hand side, so they are also having R configuration. And in case of C3, OH was at the left hand side, so it doesn't have R configuration, it is S. So it is also matching with the relative orientation of OH group, but the configuration we are looking at in this case of glucose, we are looking at the different substituents and we can determine whether it is R or S, but it is an advantage that is also matching with the glyceraldehyde. So it will be an easy way to remember just by looking at the placement of the OH group and remembering the configuration or determining the configuration of glyceraldehyde, you may be able to arrive at the configuration. So you can determine it easily. So glucose is done. For fructose, you can try yourself. This will be very easy. You have to assign the configuration at all the 3 carbon atoms which are asymmetric in nature. So in this case of fructose, it will be C3, C4 and C5. Okay. Let's now come to the open chain and cyclic structure of glucose and fructose. So glucose and fructose are the common representative molecules of the monosaccharides, aldose and ketose. That's why we concern ourselves with glucose and fructose a lot while discussing carbohydrates. Now before going into the details, let's go back to what we learned in hemiacetal and acetal formation. We have already discussed this once in unit 2. Try to find out in which class we have discussed this. So how hemiacetal is formed? It's formed when a reaction takes place between an aldehyde and alcohol, right? This is the general structure of hemiacetal, and this hemiacetal can also undergo reaction with another alcohol, same or different than the first alcohol, and that will lead to formation of an acetal. So if this aldehyde, instead of this aldehyde, had it been a ketone, the compound that would have been formed in the first step would be a hemiketal, and the final compound would have been a ketal, right? So in case of glucose or in case of cyclization of glucose, intramolecular hemiacetal formation takes place. Why? Because it has an aldehyde group and it has many alcoholic groups. Now due to the proximity and the stability of the final product, the reaction happens between the aldehyde and the C5OH group. Okay, this leads to formation of a 6-member ring, which is the most stable ring form. Okay, so in case of cyclization of glucose, a 6-member pyran type ring is formed, whereas in case of D-fructose, a furan type ring forms, which is a 5-member ring with oxygen. And if you look at the structure, it has a open envelope kind of structure, so it is also sometimes called as envelope form. Now in case of glucose, from this open chain, 2 forms or 2 ring forms are possible. So this now becomes as C1. The orientation or the position of the hydroxyl and hydrogen group at C1 now is different. The other groups are same in both the cases. So when this OH group is placed at the bottom in this particular type of structure, this form is called alpha D glucopyranose. So here this OH and the CH2OH are trans to each other. In the other ring form, the OH group is at the top, or the OH group is cis to the CH2OH group. So it is denoted as the beta D glucopyranose. Okay. In case of D-fructose, a 5-member furan ring is formed. So here also the same thing, OH and instead of H and OH now, it is OH and CH2OH at C1, whose orientation or whose positions are different in the 2 different ring forms. So when the OH is trans to the CH2OH, sorry, it is called alpha D alpha D fructofuranose, and when this OH group is at the top or the OH group is cis to the CH2OH group, it is called beta D fructofuranose. Now these ring forms are actually called anomers. So what are anomers? Glucose and other common naturally occurring sugars exist as a 6-member ring, or in case of fructose they exist as 5-member ring. So these 2 ring forms being alpha D plus glucopyranose and beta D plus glucopyranose. Such pairs of stereoisomeric ring forms of any sugar are known as anomers. So, they are not common to glucose only. We discuss the anomers with the example of glucose most of the time, but anomers is basically a ring form, two different ring forms where the difference lies only at one carbon center, and usually that is the C1 carbon center, right? So, the placement or position of two substituents at C1 carbon center in the ring form is different, and they are called, that pair are called anomers. So, in case of glucose, alpha D glucopyranose and beta D glucopyranose are anomers of each other. We sometimes also call it as alpha anomer and beta anomer when we are particularly discussing about glucose, right, or any other sugar. Now, the ring form that you saw previously, the 6-member ring form for glucose or glucopyranose, or the 5-member ring form that you saw, they are usually called Howard projection. This open chain planar formula is known as Fischer projection. This is already known, but the other form is called the, sometimes called as the perspective formula or the perspective projection or the Howard projection. So, how to convert that? Just look at the example of glucose. So, this is D-glucose, right? So, look at the uh, C5 carbon atom. So, now this is the common structure of glucose. We already know it and we have practiced it several times. So, if you interchange the position of hydrogen and CH2OH at C5, okay, hydrogen and CH2OH, not the OH group. So, we are just interchanging the position of two substituents. What we will get, everything else will be same, only the OH group is also at the same place, only the hydrogen and CH2OH are changing place with each other. Now, if you interchange the position of hydrogen OH at C5 as the second step, so you are now keeping the CH2OH fixed but interchanging the hydrogen and OH at C5. What you will get this structure. Now, if you convert it to a cyclic form, okay, so here what happened is that two-fold interchange of substituents, or this is also called Walden inversion. You might be familiar with this term. So, two-fold interchange of substituents. We are not changing the same substituents twice. We are changing two group of substituents. That is, actually three substituents have been changed. So, this consecutive two-fold change of substituents results in the same configuration. So, if you look at the absolute configuration of the first structure, absolute configuration of C5 at the first structure, and then absolute configuration of C5 at the third structure, you will find that they are same, but the second structure will have different configuration. You can try it at your home. Okay, now if you perform the cyclization from this third structure, you will get something like this, right? Everything is same, only this OH and CHO is linked up, and this so this has now become C1, and it has hydrogen and OH group. We have represented it in different way in the previous slide, which was known as the Howard projection, and we are trying to arrive at the Howard projection. But this is the planar ring form. So the first structure was a planar open chain form, Fischer projection, but this is the planar ring form, right? Now you can convert this to Howard projection in this way. How do we do it? We will understand this better in the next slide. I'll show how to do it easily. Okay. So this is the Howard projection formula where you have the 6-membered ring in this uh, pyranose form. Okay. Now in this case, this is the C1. Uh, in this case, the C1 has the hydrogen and OH group in this particular orientation. That is, the OH group is at the bottom, or the OH group and the CH2OH group are trans to each other. So this is the alpha anomer or alpha D glucopyranose, right? Now if you consider the cyclic structure now and do the same thing as above. So what did we do in this previous case? We considered the open chain form. We performed the twofold inversion in this open chain form. Then we performed the cyclization and then we converted it to Howard projection formula. Now if you take the cyclic structure from the beginning. So this is the alpha D glucopyranose. If you just convert the first structure to a cyclic form, you will get this cyclic form of alpha D glucopyranose. And now if you perform the twofold interchange of substituents, just like the previous case or the one shown above, so you will be performing the inversion at C5. So this will also lead to the same configuration. So you will again get the alpha D glucopyranose. So this cyclic ring structure will be similar to the third structure, only in the ring form. Everything else is same. And this also will change to the Howard projection formula. So the plane diagram is now changed to a perspective formula. This Howard projection formula gives you a better understanding of the orientation of the groups. Now how can you convert this Fisher projection to Howard projection formula? How do you remember which hydrogen and which hydroxyl group is placed at the top or bottom? So let's make it easy now. So let's consider the Fisher projection formula of D-glucose. So the structure is like this, right? Now let's look at the groups at the right hand side. So C2, C3, C4, C5 is where you have to look at OH at the right hand side. In C3, hydrogen at the right hand side, and in C4, C5, OH again are the right hand side groups. Now you rotate the whole molecule 90 degree to the right. Okay. You will get the structure will be showing like this. The structure will remain same, only you have rotated it 90 degree. Now one thing is important to remember, the Fisher projection of glucose or any Fisher projection for that matter should never be drawn in this way. This is only for easy understanding. Do not write it in this way. This is so that you can understand and remember it quickly. Okay. Now note that all the groups at the right in the Fisher projection formula, the common Fisher projection formula, are now at the bottom, right? Now orient the carbon chain so that C5 and C1 are in close proximity, and also it will lead to formation of a 6-membered ring. Okay, so you can draw it this way. This takes a little practice, but it's the only thing you have to do is you have to take the C2 and C3 at the bottom part. C1 is already in the bent position. C4 will also be in the bent position parallel to C1, and C5, C6 will be like this. You can note that the position of the substituents at C5 has now undergone twofold inversion if you look at the structure in the first two forms. If you practice it, you will understand it better. It's difficult to show it here. Anyway, now if the hemiacetal formation or the cyclization takes place at this structure, what will happen? There are two possibilities. You will get these two ring forms. So everything is same, only difference is the C1 carbon atom. So in this case, OH group is at the bottom, or OH is trans to CH2OH. So it is alpha D glucopyranose, and in this case, it is the beta D glucopyranose because OH is at the top, or cis to CH2OH. Now you can note that the groups that were in the bottom after rotating the Fisher projection formula 90 degree to the right side. So these groups are again at the bottom, right? So if this is the alpha form, OH at the bottom, OH at the bottom, H at the bottom, and OH at the bottom. Or more precisely, you should be looking at the 2, 3 and 4 carbon atom, OH, H, OH, all are in bottom in this structure, and in the Haworth structure, Haworth projection formula as well, in C2, C3, C4, OH, H and OH are at the bottom. So the only difference is happening at the C1 carbon atom because two anomers are now forming, alpha and beta. So what is the key point? You draw the Fischer projection formula, the common Fischer projection formula, rotate it to the 90 degree, rotate it at 90 degree to the right. All the groups at the right hand side now going down. So you can remember it as right down or right bottom. And you have to just convert this, orient this carbon chain in this way. But all the groups that were at the bottom are still at the bottom, and even when you perform the cyclization, the placement of the groups at the bottom are still continuing. So there is no change. Only crucial step is the rotation and orientation of this carbon chain. Okay. So practice this once or twice, you will get it. And you try this with D-fructose instead of pyranose, a 6-membered oxygen containing ring form. Fructose will have the 5-membered furanose form. Okay, so you can try in a similar way, and let's find out that whether you are achieving this Haworth projection formula for the fructose also.